Today we wanted to talk about leadership within the context of I mean, all that's happening in the world. I mean, you would have to be blind, deaf, and dumb, and also naive to think that a lot of things aren't happening at the same time everywhere, and everything that is happening is affecting everybody, different degrees in different ways, But like we started talking about, what does it mean to be a man and ultimately a leader in this day and age? Balancing everything, like, just imagine being the leader of a country and you have how much ever millions of people relying on you, but you all also have like your moral or your ethical beliefs and all of these things. Like, what should you do? What is the right thing to do? What is the best
Are
thing to do?
you lacking this?
Yeah, but if yeah, yeah, but it like the more I think about it on an individual level, if you feel like your ultimate responsibility is to provide for your family, do you think there comes a point where you will compromise certain things that you typically won't compromise?
In other words, do your principles mean more than the actual benefit or the result of survival? Because
Well, not even survival, We're talking about all right, so the ethics of taking care of your family, right?
Mm.
Versus your own personal ethics. Which one outweighs which, and which one would you say is of utmost importance? Because I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to if you look at it on a national or a wider level, right? What would you do? And I mean, like we say, we've seen a lot of things happening in the political sphere, and people say, all right, this person should have said this, or this person should have speak out, and some people say, no, don't send better this person don't say nothing, because if them say something, I mean, Rimsey Canada or Natu Jamaica or TNT, what is the best? Like, should someone say something because their moral beliefs or their views say they disagree with this thing, or should they not say anything because in their mind them still have them family to protect or them country to protect? I'm just asking, like, what is the as a man in this day and age, like, what is the thing that should be done?
I think it's a double-edged sword. Um, I think it's a double-edged sword, and I guess it comes down to your conviction and what you're really believing at to the point where there is no excuse, regardless of your family.
Hmm.
Meaning you're willing to risk your life and possibly the livelihood of your family because of what you believe in or how firmly you stand on that. So that's why I say it's a double-edged sword, because at that point now you you're faced with a decision that could be phasing out emotions. It's all emotions, but it's a type of emotions you're phasing out. What do I believe in and how firmly am I going to stand by this, knowing the implications of my actions? Implications of my actions mean for whatever, my family could be at risk, my life could be at risk, my country could be at risk. But then you also have to look into it by my conviction may not be the conviction for everybody. So it kind of has to deal with, I guess, the position you hold and how, I guess it have to do with the position it hold you hold and how it affect you, because um if you're just a regular man, well, again, it comes down to any real decisions. But if you're just a regular man, and I think in everyday life we face these things, and I'll probably give you an example, like, you see people making crazy money on OnlyFans, right? You see people making crazy money on OnlyFans, and but I talk no little bit of money, and you think about it, and you're like. You think about it and you're like, yo, these people are making some.
You think about it, not Rimsey.
These people are making some generational money
Rimsey,
in
you think your meds is deep.
in a year of their life, and you're like, yo, you I mean, me have to lighten the mood, but on a real, that is just one example. You know, you
Yeah.
have to really think about some. I think it happens in everyday life.
Yeah.
You face these situations all the
Yeah.
time where you have
Where
to
you're willing
choose
to draw the line.
when you're willing to draw the line. You understand?
Yeah.
And are you willing to put up with that, speak out, or risk it, if you want put it that way? And I guess you have to weigh the consequences. You have to weigh the pros and the cons. You have to weigh who it will affect. You know, puss and dog now have the same look, but you never know. You don't know. You don't know.
So I agree with a lot of what Rimsey said. It's a complicated thing if you find yourself in a position of leadership. Understanding that with that position of leadership comes with a certain responsibility, not just to your own ideals, but to the people who have entrusted you with that position of leadership. But I also feel like there is the balance to that perspective is by virtue of you being in that position of leadership, it necessitates you having a certain level of authority when it comes to making certain decisions, even if it might not be in the complete best interest or the quote unquote best interest of the people who follow you. I think about, even if you look at the context of revolution and even you look at what happened in slavery, it was in the best interest of some of our ancestors to remain, compliant with the authority of the day. It was in their best interest, and it wasn't in their family's best interest or their friends' best interest to speak out against certain things, because it would have meant that you would be putting them in compromising positions, or even worse, it meant death for a lot of them. And I believe that as a leader, I believe it implies that you are not necessarily comfortable with making certain sacrifices, but you understand the value of the sacrifice that you have to make in certain moments, right? You could look at it and say, all right, if I become a revolutionary, Sam Sharp, Paul Bogle, if I become a revolutionary, I'm signing my death certificate, I'm signing my death warrant. But what is the value of my sacrifice, right? And if you are a leader in this day and age, I believe you have to come to a point where you ask yourself that question, because sure, you could play that game of constantly weighing the best interest of every single person. But as a leader, you have to understand and accept that some decisions won't go over well with some people. And it's a risk you have to take. Now, we are seeing the extremes of that particular concept in a lot of places where the leaders, regardless of what the consensus is among the people, they are completely blind to it, they are ignoring it, and they are pursuing things whether to their own benefit or it's to the benefit of other special interest groups. And so we are seeing the extremes of that. So it's a slippery slope. But I do believe that you have to be comfortable, or not be comfortable, but be okay with a certain level of sacrifice, and also understand that that sacrifice may not be something that you are in control of. You know, it could mean you. You look at people like MLK, you look at people like Malcolm X, you look at people like Marcus Garvey, right? The sacrifices that they've made at the time that they made them were sacrifices that weren't beneficial to every single person around them. But the value of what that sacrifice was, we are living it today. So it's definitely a tricky thing to sort of balance. And you can't fault someone for wanting to prioritize. Like to the question you posed, Steph, you can't fault a man for saying, yo, I have to put my family's life first. That's also something you have to weigh. But you can certainly understand a man who says, this is bigger than my family. This is bigger than the 20 people who disagree with this decision. I'm going to start at OnlyFans and you know.
Who not like it, you know?
Bigger than
Yeah,
that.
but I
Hey,
don't. And I mean,
hey.
it really comes back to like ethics. You know, what are your personal ethics? But ultimately, I feel like many of our leaders, maybe it's always been that way, but many of our leaders, once they get a taste of power, they kind of lose some connection to the people. For me, leadership is about serving, right? I don't think you could be a leader if you don't serve the people who put you in power. And I feel like when it starts becoming about your personal beliefs and all of those things, that's when you kind of lose sight of things, right? When it's about your personal ego or whatever, what have you, right? And that goes for everybody, right? I feel like that's when, honestly, that's when I start seeing you as weak, as a weak man or as a weak leader. When you can't make the tough decisions, and not make the tough decisions for you, but make the tough decisions for your people, your family. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you start feeling like you need power in order to influence people's lives or to make the best decisions. That's why they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? When you're like, so you end up in power and you start and you want to stay in power, and it's no longer about people, right? It's no longer about people. So now you start using the people so that you can stay in power, right?
So,
And I feel like we as a people have grown comfortable with that, especially within the Caribbean. I think we just accept it, you know. Somebody talk nice and then promise certain things, and we just accept, you know.
Yep.
We just accept. Say, you know, many of the leaders that we will not, probably 9 out of 10 of the leaders that we vote for, we call them charismatic leaders, because somebody talk nice and can connect with you. You just assume that that person is a leader.
well,
You don't know them.
that's what the world likes. Things that
Yeah,
so nice.
so nice. You don't care about policy or what the person can do or experience. Them so nice. Them what them say resonate with you, but because it's so nice, you're not questioning it no further. You know, you're not questioning it no further.
I have a question for you guys, right? Steph, you brought up ethics and I guess by extension, you know, values and those things. What is the real value of being an ethical person or of being a principled person if you lack the means to effectively defend those principles or ethics. In other words, you can claim to be this person with a spine. You can speak out against certain things. But what is the true value of clinging to these principles if you are checked on those and then you are found to be incapable of defending those ideals? Are they still valuable then? Are they inherently valuable, I guess is the question. Is it inherently valuable to be somebody who speaks out against injustice? Is it inherently valuable to be somebody who is courageous when you lack the means to defend your courage and to defend that propensity for justice? Like, oh, what you guys think?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's two different things because inherent value is inherent. So I know I'm against certain things, right? And nothing can change that, right? That's integrity. So you say integrity is who you are and nobody's watching, right? I stand on certain things and I'll stand on those things. Whether I can defend it or not, it is valuable to me, right? Right? Um, Defending it or speaking out against it, I feel like that speaks to a wider value, right? Because speaking out now no longer makes it just about me. Because if I speak out, somebody has to hear it, or I will go on a space or a platform to speak out against it. And now it moves towards what we call reputation, right? Sometimes your reputation and your integrity don't align, right? Sometimes you can be somebody of utmost integrity, but because of what you've put out there, people just assume that this person are good or like them or this, that, and the other. And so you get a bad rep or you get a bad reputation. For example, Dr. Umar, right? Umar, you have some people hate Dr. Umar,
Right.
right? Yeah, you have some people who love him, right? And but that is his reputation now. Wherever the man stand by him, stand on that, right? And in his mind, that he is being a person of integrity, and him not say nothing for somebody to agree with him or disagree with him. You get me?
I, I agree there 100%. I also want to add that it doesn't necessarily have to be loud.
That too. That too.
It doesn't necessarily have to be loud. Where it can be a case where in my little empire, whatever I believe and whatever values or whatever integrity I have can apply to there, and anything that tries to penetrate that will feel that
Mm-hmm.
once it comes within my reach or anywhere near, or if I'm
Yeah.
supposed to go anywhere that would void that,
Yeah.
then that part would chip in. But it doesn't have to be loud where I'm going to go out there and broadcast it on a loudspeaker or whatever, because that may not be me. But that doesn't mean that because I'm not loud with it, if it comes down to the point where I need to defend it in that way, it won't happen. So I guess it comes down to the
And
person
and
and
a
where
lot of
you
people,
are, what you want out of it, what you're trying to
yeah,
achieve.
and a lot of people do. I will always encourage people to take a stand or to speak out against something they don't believe they believe in, right? But you also have people, we call it virtue signal. Them go against something just because publicly they want everybody to say, "Oh wow, look at this person speaking out against this thing," but them not do no work beyond that, right? So for me, if you're speaking out against something, I hope it's because you're a person of integrity and not because you're just seeking a good reputation. Meaning, the speaking is only a part of the wider goal you have in mind, which is actual action. You get what I say? I feel like we have a lot. Caribbean probably have pound for pound more talk radio and TV programs than anywhere, right? And people love to talk, and you call in and you let your voice be heard, and you're against this and you get that. But when you put on the phone, that's how it done, right? So is there more that can be done? Is there more that you plan to do, right? Like what else is there that you believe you can do outside of just saying that you disagree with something?
All right, so I get that, and I think those are all valid perspectives in terms of like standing for what you believe in. When you see like certain crime-ridden communities in Jamaica, for example, or even in Trinidad, as we know in sections of the Caribbean, crime is really bad, and then you have certain communities where someone is killed in that community, right? And they were killed not by police or something, but by a gunman. And the common sentiment that we get is that people are against these things. And I believe that the logical evidence of that is some sort of indication that you indeed are, and it could be something that is it could be like when they say it doesn't have to be loud, but like a general distrust, like if it doesn't have to be loud, right? On that point, it's similar to the argument like if a tree falls in the woods and no one is there to hear it, did the tree really fall? Like we can say we believe certain things or we can say we stand for certain things, but if the evidence of that thing is not being witnessed, right, then it is a sort of a perceived thing that we hold of ourselves where the evidence of this thing is not evident to other people outside of ourselves, because we can see something happen and say, yo, I eat that thing, man, trying to do that, isn't it? But nobody knows that we hold that belief. And so I guess that's where my question sort of gets at is what is the value of some of these things? Like, for example, I know like in tribal days, like smaller men were at a disadvantage when compared to bigger men because you couldn't necessarily fight them. So it was hard to claim as a man, a small man, that you were a protector because you didn't necessarily have the means to defend that perceived value of yourself, right? The bigger guy, he even if he wasn't a good warrior or a good fighter, the perception was this was somebody who could protect you. And so there's a lot of biological wiring to that where women associate, for example, aggression with protection. You see me? And that's a correlation, a very weak one at that. Because there are a lot of persons who can be extremely aggressive, but they can't protect themselves. And people see the evidence, which is this aggression, as something that is strongly correlated to the value of this person can protect me. So you see an aggressive man, or you watch one video and see one man like up in our neck, man, feel like, yo, hit me, like you see that and you say, yo, the man there crazy dog, like he's
until
that,
he get
that
until he get knocked out.
until he get knocked out. And so there a lot of what we believe, a lot of the values we hold, I genuinely believe that some of it is luxury because we have never been tested on those beliefs.